Hey everybody, it's George from DinosaurGeorge.com. Let's get into it. Tucker from Cary, North Carolina says, Dinosaur George, I have to admit that I am one of your biggest fans now, thanks to you answering these questions for dinosaur fans around the world. Tucker, that's very kind of you. Like I tell people, my only regret is I can't answer more of them. I wish I had more time. Okay, I hope you can shed some light on my question. Well, you know, Tucker, I think I can. Okay, that was an absolute terrible joke, but it's the best thing I had. Tucker said, I read a theory in a book that stated that sauropods had produced so much saliva in order to soften their food enough so that it could go down their throats that they ended up drooling a lot. Now, I know that this is only a theory, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I'd also like to thank you for you continually fueling my interest in paleontology. And thank you for taking the time to answer my question. Tucker, first of all, thank you for being so courteous. And it's my pleasure. And I'm glad that I'm helping to continue to fuel your interest in paleontology. That's really what I hope to accomplish by answering these questions. Now, it's not such a crazy thing to think that it would require a tremendous amount of saliva to be able to move plant material down the throats of those sauropods. In fact, I'll tell you the truth now that I think about it, I bet you there's a lot of fact to that. I grew up raising cattle, and I can tell you that something as small as a cow drools incessantly when it comes time to eat. We feed these things called range cubes, they're little square cubes of various minerals, and I like to hand feed them to the cows sometimes. You literally have to be careful because if you put that in, you put one of those into their mouth, they will slime you. I mean, you'll be covered in goo. So I can tell you things like cows certainly generate a tremendous amount of saliva. I have never read that idea before, and this is the first I've ever heard of it. But I'll tell you the truth, Tucker, it's kind of a cool concept. I think it would take a lot of neck muscles to move that food down that throat, but it would certainly take a lot of lubrication, which would be in the form of saliva. I think it's a perfectly realistic concept. That's a cool question, man. Okay, Regil from Boston, Massachusetts. Why did Spinosaurus grow so large? Well, you know, Regil, there's so many different reasons that becoming giant can be beneficial. First of all, when you're the biggest kid on the block, it means everybody else doesn't bother you. That's one reason to be big. Another reason would be that if Spinosaurus indeed was a fish eater, which I believe he was, he would want large body mass to be able to retain body heat when it was standing in the water. So being big would be beneficial. In other words, if you're a little skinny runt, you're standing in the water, you get cold very quickly. If you're a great big behemoth like Spinosaurus, you would at least have the ability to stay in the water for a considerably more amount of time. And again, growing big is always beneficial. If Spinosaurus was a predatory dinosaur who hunted other dinosaurs, being big would have an advantage as well. So that may be why Spinosaurus grew so large. Usually gigantism is an end result of the environment that you live in. The more there is to eat, the bigger you can grow. So it could possibly be that Spinosaurus simply lived in an environment where food was very plentiful and it allowed it to reach those gigantic sizes. All right, Martin from Chicago, Illinois. Hello, DG. It's me again. Hey, Martin. Always good to hear from you. I'm glad you liked my drawing of you in a cartoon form. Martin, that was really cool. For any of you that want to see it, go to my Facebook page, join it to be one of my friends, and you'll see it there. It is really cool. You are a very gifted artist, Martin. I can't draw a straight line if you gave me a ruler. I mean, I'm terrible. So Martin says, my question is, what do you think had happened at the end of the Permian age, the Permian mass extinction? Man, Martin, I get this question quite often, and my answer is always the same, man. I just don't know. I've seen so many different studies and counter studies. Some people believe that it was due to volcanic activity. Some people believe it may have had something to do with an asteroid. Because it was so global in scale, and because it wiped out so many plants and animals, my best guess is it had to be something of gigantic proportion that would be enough to alter the environment of the entire planet. Whether or not volcanic activity could do that, I just don't know. I just don't study volcanism enough to know. I know that big volcanoes, when they erupt, they have a massive impact, but it doesn't necessarily impact the entire planet to the degree that millions of things die off the face of the earth. We've seen some big volcanoes erupt, and we've seen the end results where it certainly tweaks the environment, but it doesn't alter it on a scale that wipes out life. So my best guess, based on what I know, would be that it must have been a comet. It must have been an asteroid or a comet or something that was so massive that it really changed the complexity of life on planet Earth. And that's my best guess, Martin. Okay, Mustafa from Dallas, Texas. Hey, Dinosaur George. I've been interested in dinosaurs since the age of 2. Yes, 2. I know the feeling, brother. That's when I love dinosaurs. I was wanting to write a story about one. That's really cool. I have to know what dinosaurs lived with Giganotosaurus other than Argentinosaurus, and what was the environment like? Mustafa, you got me, brother. I just don't know enough. I've not studied enough of the contemporaries of Giganotosaurus or Argentinosaurus. I would recommend, there's a book out there by Dr. Tom Holtz, and Dr. Holtz's book is pretty thorough and really goes into great detail about so many of the different dinosaurs. My guess would be you might be able to find information there. If not, try to contact Rudolfo Correa. Dr. Correa, or Correa, however you pronounce it, is a genius, an absolute genius when it comes to all of the dinosaurs in Patagonia. This man knows those things probably better than anybody else. And if you had a way of contacting Dr. Correa, he could probably give you that information. Finally, my buddy Zach from Mesa, Arizona. Hey, Dinosaur George. Hope all is well. It is well, Zach, and I hope you had a good new year, and I hope you and your family are doing well. Have you heard about Eotriceratops? And if so, do you think it's its own dinosaur, or do you think it was a large Triceratops? Zach, when Eotriceratops was discovered, I did read some things about him. And from what I understand, and from looking at the image of the skull, this clearly to me is a totally different dinosaur than Triceratops. Now, if memory serves me, and everybody out there knows how bad my memory can be, if memory serves me correctly, it was a much more primitive ceratopsian than Triceratops. And therefore, because of its enormous size, I would think that it would be a different dinosaur. And let me explain why. Triceratops seems to be the epitome of big when it came to the ceratopsians. I'm not just talking about the size of the skull. I'm talking about overall body design. Triceratops was the biggest, and he was the latest, meaning the last to remain. So from what it appears, the early ceratopsians were small, and they were getting progressively larger. So Eotriceratops being gigantic doesn't make sense to me because he's more primitive than Triceratops. Now again, everybody keep in mind that I have not had the opportunity to really study this dinosaur a lot, so I can't really speak to it. I can only tell you based on what I read and what I've seen, and that has not been a lot. But I can tell you this, it is a really cool looking dinosaur, and I think it's kind of cool. And I personally believe it's its own species. All right, everybody, that's it for this time. If you have a question, go to my website, dinosaurgeorge.com, fill out the Ask Dinosaur George form, and submit it to me, and I will do my very best to answer it. Until I talk to you guys again, take care of yourselves, take care of all the people around you, and for you young people out there, it is incredibly important to be a good reader. So practice those reading skills. Everybody continue to use good manners, and I will see you all again soon.